I think edge is a pretty hot topic right now, and most of you heard a good bit about it. But we're lucky in the sense of today, we're going to talk about how we can help scale this and maybe help implement this promise that we all know and see in all the materials that are coming out. So, the slide here really reflects what we already all know, that there's a tremendous opportunity. And I can tell you, Intel is out in the field now, doing real deployments, learning a lot. And interestingly enough, it's two things really. It's really the technology itself, and then secondarily, it's all the scaling elements required to kind of get this moving. So it's operational, security, and even how you consume this. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but we're excited about where we are in the process and that we're beginning to introduce scaling at the edge, not dissimilar to what happened with data centers in the cloud. I think we're at a really good point here. So if you could advance the slide, please, we're going to kind of dig a little bit deeper. So I think most folks kind of get all of these things. It's we're definitely seeing some exciting use cases. I call greater capacity. We were an industrial engineer on a site, and he says, "Man, I love this because the wheel doesn't spin when I'm downloading data." And we're definitely delivering a better experience for the users now. It's not just the air interface that's doing this; it's the compute at the edge. It's even how the software is advancing. I think part of what's exciting to us is we're beginning to really drive toward new data insights that deliver some kind of business outcome. Do we speed up the factory line? Do we not lose inventory? Are we more malleable? Can we turn things around quicker in a facility? So these are all measurable things. So these new data insights are allowing us to kind of, get to this, let's say, better end result. The other piece is lowering cost. When you begin to introduce this hyper-converged state at the edge, it has the potential to lower costs. Now, if it adds too much from a standpoint of operations, if it adds too much from a standpoint of not fitting into the existing tools, then maybe the lower cost isn't worth it. But I think we're beginning to figure out how to scale it operationally as well as from a delivery perspective, which the Beyond team will talk about. Finally, when you think about improved security, it's more than the inherent capability of things like 5G. It's also kind of building natively into the edge the idea of security as your first thought. Things like zero trust, how you manage certificates, how do you protect data at rest, data in motion, anytime it's being consumed. How do you protect that in a way that it's not just the additional technology that's there, but it's incorporating it into the world that exists today. So we're starting to see really solid results. We're getting measurements out there that, are exciting for us all. But most importantly, we're doing it with use cases that have some kind of business outcome. I mean, I can't overemphasize that. We did some really cool use cases that showed the power, but didn't deliver a business outcome. So I think we're getting better at that, and it's the natural maturity of this opportunity at the edge. So if you could advance to the next slide, please. So this is a particular visual of a use case where I think most of us would know what a cell is in a factory. But we're definitely doing more and more in industrial and factories. I think a lot of people are out there. There's a lot being learned. It's you're managing PLC connectivity. You're allowing for the industrial engineer to connect to any of the sensors that are overlay around this kind of cell. But one thing we're able to do now, because the edge allows you to connect all these different endpoints, devices, PLCs, sensors, the tablet that the industrial engineer is carrying. And you can both use 5G or 4G as well as the video cameras and even other access methods such as RFID. we're able to now create some scene graphs and this of a setting or a facility. And this can be used for safety, can be used for finding inventory, it can be used for determining, hey, when something doesn't look quite right and it needs maintenance. And this allows us to feed digital twins. So there's some really, like let's say, real valuable platform approaches as opposed to a point system in a cell. We're creating kind of a platform. Now, when we think about these kind of use cases, we want to make sure that one thing I will tell you, you'll see this is a vertical implementation at the edge. This is one thing we're talking to Beyond about. How do we package things for the verticals so that this can be provided to the market in a way that it can be consumed in a scalable way? So like the technology here and multimodal scene intelligence is a good example of that. So there's some things we're beginning to contemplate to where how we package these things in a way that it will address, these exciting opportunities in these particular use cases and verticals. So if you could advance the slide, please. So before I turn this over to Andreas, I do want to kind of lay out a last comment, is that one of the things that Intel has really worked hard at is adding all the ISVs and the use case. But what we were blocked from is how do we allow an operator to begin to provide this to their clients in a scalable way, in a way that, it really brings the kind of benefits that cloud did to the data center, to the edge. And what's exciting about Beyond is Beyond actually helps us in this because it requires all kinds of complexity that you want to simplify. And I think in the use cases we described earlier, Beyond's done just a fabulous job in helping with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andreas.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks very much for introducing us to the opportunity of the edge and especially the demand from the business from the customers for business outcomes. So solutions that solve an entire customer problem. And if you just think about industrial manufacturing, there's probably 20, 30, 40 different use cases that you can realize there. The good news is that a lot of these use cases can be built upon some common components like the network connectivity, the edge compute platform. But there's, of course, for each individual use case, also individual pieces there, like as you've seen before in the factory monitoring solution, the camera, and some software on top of that analyzes the data. Eventually, there is an SI on top of that, which packages up certain solutions and provides a managed service or some SLAs around that. So there's lots of different parties and partners involved in realizing such a use case. And if we think about that just in industrial manufacturing, there's probably 20, 30, 40 use cases. And you expand then into other industries and verticals like agriculture or transport logistics, which will be required for you to deliver this at scale. There's lots of use case and lots of partners involved. And that's a complexity that is faced to the IT organizations within CSPs, how to deal with such a large number of partners and customers. A couple of questions that you actually need to address or that you need to deal with when thinking about these scenarios is like, for instance, with all these partners, how do you deal with the different commercial models with them? It's not usually just a simple supplier relationship. There's probably parties like ISVs who want to create software on top of your solutions and provide them to you in certain business models. There is eyes on top of them, all of them interacting with you in a different commercial model. To run this at scale, a big question is how do you onboard these partners? It's no longer sufficient to run, 3, 5, 6 month projects to create, a smart workplace solutions. Your business will be asking for delivering these solutions at scale, high number of them, constantly improving them, adding new ones. And clearly, onboarding of new partners that provide components to this is crucial to this. On the other side, it's also very important how you manage the expectations of your customers. Actually, the customers are demanding these solutions, but there are other parties out there which also address this market. So for CSPs, moving up from the connectivity bit to delivering outcome-based solutions, they need to be attractive to partners In the beginning, they probably won't come to you and onboard themselves, but you need to bring them there. But the more partners, the more customers, the more partners will be there. So establishing a platform business model will be crucial there. Dealing with these solutions, there's a complexity in the hierarchies of partners. You have the network layer, the connectivity pieces, the edge platform. Then you have the things, that sensors and so on. You have software running on top of that by ISV partners, which package it up, and eventually an SI partner on top of that, which brings a managed service. So clearly you need to deal with these hierarchies in all your processes, fulfillment, assurance, billing, and so on. You need to establish a governance in this ecosystem and ultimately empower your business. And that's the main role probably for IP, empowering your business and give them the speed they require to roll out and launch new solutions in the market. The existing, especially BSS, OSS environment is typically very much optimized for internal processes. So looking at your architecture, which is probably closely aligned to the ODA domains and functional blocks from there, with your party management on top, dealing with your customers, the customer management of it, your core commerce management in the middle, providing the catalog functionality, as well as the order orchestration and assurance processes for customer-facing processes, and your production layer, which deals with the services and network resources that you're offering. All of these components are very much tailored to your internal processes and optimized for delivering them. The good news is that if you follow the ODA architecture, they provide the corresponding APIs so that you can easily build on top of this for managing with the partner environments. But the existing IT environment usually is not set up for dealing with a complex hierarchical partner ecosystem that enables a platform business models with your partners. Therefore, we believe that this complexity of dealing with partners requires something that plugs into your existing IT, an ecosystem orchestration platform that, if you look at it from far enough away, you see there's the similar functionalities in there. There's catalog, order orchestration, inventory assurance, and monetization. But why is the existing catalog not ready for this? Actually, what we mean with catalog in such an ecosystem orchestration platform is actually a catalog which maintains all the offerings that your partners bring to the table with their commercial terms and conditions under which they are compensated. It's also hierarchical because other partners should see the offerings of other partners you have in your environment. They should pick from them, package them up, and recreate and innovate and publish new solutions in there. The same applies to the order orchestration, inventory assurance, and monetization. So if you think about the scenario of the factory monitoring solution, you have your edge provider, you have your connectivity, you have your cameras, you have a software ISV on top of that analyzes it, and you have eventually an SI over this. And you need to deal with all the processes in a hierarchical way and compensate with them. The different partners probably having a different business model with you, compensated on different terms and conditions, whether it's fee-based, transaction-based, profit sharing, all kinds of variants there. The good news is that with an open API architecture, you can actually almost underlay your party management and core commerce catalog with this platform, and you can almost overlay your production layer, so being in the middle there and feeding into your customer-facing processes, but in parallel, also enable partners to address their market and their customers by taking your products and services in addition to theirs. There is 5 key principles you're going to think about, and they are applying across all the partners, the relationships, the customers, as well as the business models. Clearly, efficiency and automation and speed is something we all know from our internal processes, and it applies in the same way to your partner environment. Probably even more because there is manual processes is not an option if you're dealing with tens, 50, hundreds of partners. The more important part is probably the openness, and that's a shift from the traditional IT. Traditionally, IT was very much closed and focused on the internal processes. But to establish a partner ecosystem and the platform business model with them, you require an open platform that allows customers or partners to self on board and join the ecosystem, provide their propositions, pick others, innovate with them, and create new offerings that ultimately you can address to your customers, but also they can sell to their customers. This also requires commercial flexibility. to handle the different business models you are interacting with your partners. Are you co-selling? Are you jointly selling? Are you selling through? It's just a few examples of this. So you need to deal with all of that. And ultimately, the scalability is required. So all the things need to have self-service capabilities, need to provide the proper APIs so that partners can do as much of this job themselves and come to your platform. All of these complexities, the good news is that we, as Beyond, jointly with Intel, we're partnering to help CIOs to get there faster. So Intel Smart Edge providing a wide range of solutions actually that are ready in combination with connectivities of CSPs and the ecosystem orchestration platform allows you to quickly launch and monetize new solutions in different verticals, whatever your business priorities are, and to onboard effectively new partners, whether it's ISVs, whether it's SI partners, and ultimately move towards a platform business model in this scenario.